In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can use Tyflow in 3ds Max to do some agent-based modeling. So I'm going to be working with a model of Coalfield in Victoria, in Australia. And so first we're going to create a Ty icon. So just go to your Create panel, Standard Primitives, Tyflow, and we can just create this anywhere. Now, so what we're going to do, because we want to do some agent-based modeling and show some agents, I'm going to use some particles moving across these streets to represent pedestrian movement. All right, so we need an object for the particles to be created on. So I'm just going to create a sphere here. And then what we need is some splines, some lines for the particles to follow. So just going to go into splines here, create a couple of lines, just going in different directions. So I'm going to create one going along this street, just going through here. And the last one, let's just move it this way. Okay, that'll do. Okay, so so now that we've done that, we can get started on the Tyflow animation. So first things first, we're going to select the Ty icon, and we want to go into Modify panel and open the editor. Just reduce the size. Okay, so with the editor open and the viewport visible, first thing we want to do is just give birth to some particles. So to do that, drag and drop birth, and it will say start end. So it's going to continue creating particles from the beginning of my frames to the end, because I have 150 frames. It's going to be 200. And so I just want to reduce that to 100. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, we want to position the particles on this sphere. So I'm going to add a position object underneath birth. So just going to select this and add selected, and then the particles will be positioned on the sphere. So next thing is to give the particles some shape. So right now you can just see the particles appearing on the sphere as small dots, but we want to give it some shape, so I'm going to add a shape operator. And I'm going to create 3D shapes. So 3D, I'm just going to create low-res spheres and increase the size a little bit so you can see them clearly. Let's make them 200, and you'll see that it's still displaying small dots. So go on to display and select geometry. And now you should see them appear as big spheres. All right, so now that we've done that, we want to make these spheres follow the lines. So with the lines selected, I'm just going to just hold Control and select all of these. Okay. We want to add a path follow. So I'm going to find a path follow operator. Yeah, so just drag that underneath shape. And I've selected my splines that I want to follow, so I'm just going to add selected. And now you'll see that the spheres try to follow the lines, but this just has to be adjusted slightly. So we can adjust it by adding a slow operator, and this will just make them go a bit more slowly, and it will also just have to find the slow operator. There we go. Add a slow operator, and it's still a little bit too fast, so let's just see what happens when we increase it to 20. Just following slightly better, I'm just going to double this to 40. Okay, now that looks much better. Okay, great. As you can see, though, the spheres are kind of doing this kind of weird orbit around the spline, and I don't really want this to happen. So I'm just going to go back onto the path follow, and I'm just going to keep the traction as it is, but I want to just change the spin to 0, and that should fix the problem. There you go. Now they're just simply moving along the line without spinning. Okay, so now that we've got a basic kind of animation of these particles following path, what we can do just to make it visually better, we can just remove this sphere. So if we go on to object properties, to just make it not renderable, and we can display it as box, and then okay. Okay, so now we can't see the sphere, and the particles are just coming from this point. So if we play the animation, see these particles are doing what I want them to do, just kind of moving along these lines to sort of represent pedestrian movement through the street network and along paths. Okay, and that's pretty good. So if you want to show the spline, paths, we can also add a spline paths operator, which so what that does is it kind of highlights the paths as the particles move. So I'll just show you what this does. So I'll just add a spline paths operator here, and create new trajectories. So by adding a spline paths operator, as we can see now, you can see the paths in white there, and we'll just click out of this and play it so you can see that animation. There you go, that's how you do agent-based modeling in 3ds Max using Tyflow.